Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to this episode in our series, The Forces of Evil. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this program, we have been looking at the satanic forces, where they began, how they affected the first generation of human beings, how they continue to affect us throughout the centuries in our daily lives, and will continue to affect us into the future. We discussed the modes by which satanic forces affect us, through creating doubts, etc., through beautifying evil and corruption, through causing people to abandon acts of worship like prayers and fasts and things like this. Then we began to look at ways to prevent that evil from coming to us. Among those ways, we said, was to fear Allah, that we are focused on Allah in our lives. We fear His displeasure. We try to do the things that He has prescribed. Secondly, also, we said that we should be sincere in our worship. And all different things that we do, which is supposedly for God, we should be very sincere about it, because that's where the real reward lies. Then we started to look at the actual acts that we could do to protect our home, rather than, we talked in the general sense, now we get down to specifics. All of us have homes. We live in our home. Homes makes or plays a special role in our lives. It's the foundation. It's where the wives and children are for mostly. We spend maybe less time because of the fact that we're working, but it is our primary base. And as such, it needs to be fortified, protected, and strong. And in the previous session, we began to look at fortifying the home or protecting the home by the recitation of Surah Al-Baqarah. And I mentioned a hadith, a very famous hadith, found in the Mustadrak of Hakim, which is authentic, wherein the Prophet ﷺ said, everything has an apex. لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَنَامًا. Everything has an apex, a point, a high point. And the apex, or the high point of the Quran, is Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran. Whenever Satan hears Surah Al-Baqarah read, he leaves the home wherein it is being recited. So this is a very powerful force to drive away satanic things from the home, and to maintain an atmosphere of spirituality and righteousness. In another narration from An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, he revealed 2 verses from it by which he closed Surah Al-Baqarah, referring to what was revealed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ from Allah. No devil can come near any home in which they are recited for 3 consecutive nights. So when the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah are recited consecutively for 3 nights, then no satanic force or no devil, etc., can come near the home. It's a very, very important principle. And there are a number of other verses which are recommended by Allah, by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, to use, to be recited for protection purposes, reflecting, of course, on the meanings. And as I mentioned before, we must make a distinction between that which has been prescribed by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, based on instruction from Allah, and that which people may make up and say, you do this or you do that or do the other, and you get this reward, that reward, the other reward. They don't have the authority to promise you these things. What they are promoting, in fact, become innovations. The 9th form of protection, is the recitation of certain formulas of praise in the home. There are different supplications which involve praising Allah, which the Prophet ﷺ prescribed for us in the morning and the evening, saying basically one who does this so many times is going to protect one from the satanic forces, etc., in the home. For example, one who says, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir. That is, there is no God but Allah, who is alone without partners. The dominion and praise are His, and He's able to do all things. one who says that 100 times per day will have a similar reward to freeing 10 slaves. 100 good deeds will be recorded for him, and 100 of his sins will be erased. And most important, he will have a charm against Satan for the whole of that day and night. This is found in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. It's a very strong and authentic tradition of the Prophet ﷺ. But unfortunately, people are missing out on this. These are the adhkar, or words of remembrance, that the Prophet recommended for us to do in our homes, outside of our homes, etc. The 10th method is that of reciting certain du'as before going to sleep. This is closing off the day. The Prophet ﷺ had said, or confirmed, which was said to him, that when you go to sleep, recite Ayatul Kursi completely, and there will remain over you a protection from Allah, and no devil can come near you until the dawn. So it has a protective value, Ayatul Kursi. We also know that when one is lying down to sleep, that we are encouraged by the Prophet ﷺ to make this particular dua. Bismillahi wada'atu jambi, Allahumma ghfir li dhanbi, wa akhsi shaytani, wa fukka rihani, waj'alni fin nadiyil a'la. In the name of Allah, I lie down on my side. O Allah, forgive my sin and drive away my jinn. Free me from my responsibility and place me in the highest assembly. This is prior to going to sleep. We also have instruction from the Prophet ﷺ to say the 3 quls before going to sleep. This is also a means of protection. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. We say these, recite them in our hands, blow in our hands, and wipe them over our face and the rest of our bodies before going to sleep at night. If a person finds that he's waking up from sleep, he's not feeling good, he's woken up bad dreams, etc., etc., even for that, Prophet ﷺ is prescribed that we say, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من غضبه وعقابه وشر عبادي ومن همزات الشياطين وأن يحضرون. O Allah, I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah, from His anger, from His punishment and the evil of His creatures, and from the prodding of the devils and from their attacks. So here, even if we wake up in the middle of the night, we've woken up from sleep, this helps us to protect us in this circumstance, to regain our confidence, to put our fear back in Allah, our trust in Allah, etc. Now, if a person wakes for tahajjud, Prophet ﷺ had also taught that they say what the person should do. If a person wakes up in the middle of the night which is the time for tahajjud, that is a night prayer, voluntary night prayer, he said, I was shown that if any one of you arouses from sleep and performs ablution, that is wudu, he should inhale water in his nose and blow it out 3 times, because Satan spends the night in the upper part of his nose. So these are amongst the instructions in our daily life within the home. Coming into the home, greeting people, when we're eating our food, when we're going to the bathroom, when we're going to bed. Prayers in the home in general, but when we're going to bed, and what should be said. We also have, among the authentic narrations, where Allah told the Prophet ﷺ to inform us that we could also purify our homes by removing from it any symbols of paganism. Aisha had said that the Prophet ﷺ never left anything in his house that had a cross on it without obliterating it. Remove it. Deface it so it is no longer visible. Why? Because the cross is a symbol of satanic success. Satan succeeded in misguiding people into worshipping a human being, Jesus, Prophet Jesus, to worshipping him thinking that they are worshipping Allah. There can be no greater misguidance. And that's a great failure. So the symbol of the cross, from the perspective of Islamic belief, this is a very evil symbol. It's a symbol of misguidance for people who have ended up falling into a form of idolatry while thinking that they were in fact only worshipping God. We have the 12th fortification. Another way of fortifying the home is to remove from it pictures, variety, meaning pictures of living beings, of human beings, animals, the fish, the birds, etc. The living beings of the earth, not including trees, and I know trees are living, and other elements of the earth are also living, but we're talking about living in the sense of having a consciousness, etc. We are told by the Prophet ﷺ that we should keep images from our homes. And he indicated that the people who receive the most severe penalties are those involved in picture making. Now, there was a particular narration of the Prophet ﷺ in which he said, and this hadith is found in Sahih Muslim, لا تدخل الملائكة بيتا فيه تماثيل أو تصاوير. Angels do not enter homes wherein there are statues or pictures. So we purify our home from the satanic forces by removing from it any images. And you'll find those who have deviated, have gone on a wrong path, they will focus on images. They'll be given pictures of the peers or whatever to focus on in their worship. They will place it on their prayer mats before them or on the wall or whatever. And they very much are focused on this. And this is a way in which they have deviated, because prayers should be directed to Allah alone. We don't have any images to focus on for our prayer. Among the things that we should purify the home of also are dogs. This is of course a problem for people of the West, who dogs have become quote-unquote man's best friend, to the point where human beings live with dogs. The dogs are given clothing, special warm clothing for winter, summer clothing for the summer. People leave their wealth for their dogs. So the dog has been elevated in society to the point where he is above that of human beings. Instead of giving person's wealth to needy human beings in the earth, who are starving or whatever, people who are in real need, a person dies and leaves his or her wealth to dogs. So purifying the home of the dog. Prophet ﷺ had said, the angels do not enter a home wherein there's a dog or a picture. So the issue of the dog is very, very important to remove it. It is the way by which paganism crept in on the followers of Prophet Abraham. It's mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ and his companions that the people were worshipping one God up until that time, and that satanic forces had come to the people and suggested to them to make images of these righteous people when they died, because they didn't live forever, they grew old and they died. So the people were encouraged to make images of them, that this would remind them of the goodness they did and encourage them to do goodness. And as such, the people did that and they were reminded. However, generations later, when people forgot the reason for making these images, Satan would again approach them and suggest to them that it was because of their worship, their foreparents' worship of these images, that the people got rain, their cultivation was good, etc., etc. So what we're dealing with here is in fact purification of the home from these forbidden animals as well as forbidden things. The 14th, that was the 13th, the 14th basic area by which way by which we can protect our homes is to make special prayers for the dead and for the living. We do as much as we can of voluntary prayers in the home. Keep the prayer alive in the home. Because of course the man, though he's enjoined to pray in the mosque, it is possible for certain occasions for him to pray at home. And it's good to do that to make sure everybody in the home is praying, because if that feeling and that love and that thrust of prayer is not there in the home, then the youth will be followed, they will be identified and could possibly be harmed. The Prophet ﷺ had told us to make optional prayers in our homes in order to bring it to life, to make prayer a regular part of the home. You know, children staying at home observing their mothers, who may pray at times when the children might be sleeping, they may not see a steady consistency there. But that's why it's important, and Prophet ﷺ encouraged males to go home from time to time and to pray their recommended prayers there. Not the compulsory, that should be done in the conversation in the congregation along with the body of Muslims, but where we have voluntary prayers, he had said that the best voluntary prayer is that of a man or woman in their home. I mean, this is the general recommendation. So we protect the home by doing additional voluntary prayers in the home. And there's a particular hadith, another hadith on this topic, which is found in Sahih Muslim, in which Abu Musa al-Ash'ari related the Prophet ﷺ had said, the difference between a home in which Allah is remembered and a home in which Allah is not remembered is like the difference between the living and the dead. So the lack of remembrance of Allah indicates the death of the soul. We keep the soul alive and strong by remembering Allah. And the 15th principle for protecting the home is that during one's prayers, we utilize certain supplications which the Prophet ﷺ had given. Among them, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان من نفخه ونفثه وهمزه. That is, I seek refuge in Allah from Satan's pride, his poetry, and his touch, the touch of Satan. So, in our daily prayers, it is good to utilize this particular dua instead of saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, because actually there is no narration, authentic narration to support that practice. But it is authentically narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, I seek refuge from Satan's pride, his poetry, and his touch. So we should protect the home by incorporating such supplications within the prayer itself. And the 16th form is that one control oneself in the time of anger. On one occasion when a man's face became very red with anger, the Prophet ﷺ said to him, إني لأعرف كلمة لو قالها لذهب عنه الذي يجد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Indeed, I know some words. If he said them while he's feeling, what he's feeling would go away. And that is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the cursed. Whereas the other dua which we mentioned, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان من نفخه ونفثه وهمزه. This dua, which meant I seek refuge in Allah from Satan's pride, his poetry, and his touch. You know, this one is the one which was commonly used by the Prophet ﷺ in the daily prayers. The 17th form of fortification would be to use good and kind words and bright smiles. In order to keep good feelings amongst the people of the family, because this is one of the major areas in which the satanic forces destroys the home through enmity between the husband and the wife, which leads to bad feelings, to ill treatment, ultimately to the breakup of the family. So with that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, The Forces of Evil. I'm your host, Dr. Bilal Phillips, and I hope that you'll continue to follow our program in its future episodes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.